What's up, y'all? Welcome to this video. My name is Chris. I'm a creative entrepreneur, and in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips that I wish I would have known before I started entrepreneurship. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And at any point in the video, if I create value for you, go ahead and give it a like. And if you have a question, drop it in the comments below. I will go through this video and answer all the questions. So let's get started. Number 1, what is the first thing I wish somebody would have told me about entrepreneurship was it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you're anything like me, like you need to hear this, is you cannot outwork time. And that has been the hardest absolute lesson I've learned in entrepreneurship is I have the work ethic, I'm fast, I'm efficient, I have systems, I have processes. I'm essentially faster than everybody around me. So I thought I'd be more successful in business quicker than everybody around me, but it's kind of been the opposite. And the very last tip I give you will really connect these two together. But I came out of the gates and went full-time from switching to nursing into entrepreneurship. And people told me like, it will take time, Chris, it'll take time. And I was like, it won't take time, watch this. So I doubled down, I worked a lot, I bust my ass. And I've been doing that for the last 7 years. But a couple of years ago, I started to realize that no matter how much work you put towards it, time is still the thing that you're going against. And no matter how fast you are at building stuff, even the brand that I'm starting now, it's taking the same amount of time that my first brand took to start. But at this time, I'm building better systems and processes. But there's still this phenomenon of where you plant the seed and when it starts to grow. And I always say it's kind of like a plant. I wish I would have brought my plant into this video, but it's kind of like a plant. Like you can't make a plant grow faster than it's going to grow, right? Like there are some ways, okay, you want to get real technical, but you get the gist. Like if you plant a seed, it's going to grow at its own rate. Your business is going to do the same thing. And if there are times that you aren't seeing the growth, the one thing you need to do is take a break. You need to take some rest. You need to take some time off, which we'll get into this a little bit more specifics later. But what the main thing here is that you can't outwork time. You really need to focus on just being consistent. And with consistency, doing that one thing every day that is going to move the needle. Because if you focus on that, you're going to see that you're working a lot less, and those each moves you're making are creating more of an impact, which hits more the marathon vibe than running a bunch of sprints. Because essentially if you're a sprinter and you try to crush it and knock it all out, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out. You're going to start to hate what you do. You're going to question everything that you're doing and why you're doing it. And you're going to think about quitting more than actually sitting down and working. Whew. Number 2. This is a big one, is entrepreneurship is more of an internal journey than an external journey. And I can't even stress this one enough of like, and even a really good story that I'll relate to this is last year I went to a networking event and I met a guy who was an agency owner, and I was like, at the time I was like, dude, I want to own an agency. And he was like, you want to own an agency? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, what's the key? And he's like, well, if you're asking the key, you aren't ready to own an agency. And I was like, what an asshole. But no, it made sense. Like this guy changed my life with what he said. He's like, if you want to be an agency owner, you'll always want to be an agency owner. The second that you decide to be an agency owner and you start picking up the traits that an agency owner is, you'll start to become one. And I was like, dang. And even in a group that I'm in, an entrepreneurship community right now, is essentially we did this exercise too, where we picked 3 avatars, and they could be fictitious people, they could be public figures, they could be like anybody. We picked 3 avatars of people that inspire us in our life, and we broke down all the traits of who those people are. And that has been something extremely powerful, because I realized the traits of the people that I was looking at all had something in common. They were innovative, they were confident, they were luxurious, like they had all these elements, they were creative as fuck, like they had all these elements that I'm like, no wonder I was attracted to them. So even there's a little inside video tip is like, find 3 people that inspire you and break down how they approach work, how they, carry themselves, how they dress, what they do, and understand all elements, because those are the traits that you're looking to embody to become that person through your own essence. But overall, just the internal journey of entrepreneurship is so hard, and that's where all the work is. And that's why I think a lot of entrepreneurs go into personal work or personal development work, is because it's just such an internal process, because your triggers and your wounds and your shadows, you'll attract all those elements through the clients you work with. And a lot of the times you'll want to look outward and be like, why are these people in my life? But they're all teachers. They're all here to help you grow. And as soon as you can really understand that, you'll approach these people and problems as like, what are they teaching me? How can I grow through this? And what trait are they really training me to embody? Like, this past year I had a lot of people that were doubting me because I had a lot of self-doubt on the inside. I had people that were overstepping boundaries because I sucked at setting and holding boundaries. And then I also had like some confidence issues where I was like, I know I was dope, but I didn't believe in myself. And like essentially it was just like, why do these people keep doing this stuff to me? And then I literally caught it and was like, they're trying to teach me how to have boundaries, be confident, and stop doubting myself. And as soon as I understood that and became that person and approached life more confidently with more, what is that called? Self-worth and boundaries, like all my problems faded away and then a new set of problems come in. But it's essentially like you're on this uphill journey with your soul and you're going to get better. So stop looking at them as problems and stuff going wrong externally and see what things on the inside need to change to make you a better person. Let's see, number 3. God, I wish somebody would have told me this one, is don't chase, attract. And I think everybody who starts a business starts off with, they know exactly what they want to do, what problem they want to solve, and how they want to do it. But then the universe sends you a little test and it's like, we're not going to send you any clients. You're going to get 0, none, nada. And then what you do is you start chasing people, or at least I did, and I know this is common in entrepreneurship, is like you start bending your mold a little bit. You start like, say somebody, I'm like, oh, I do video and photo, and they're like, well, actually we need graphics. And I'm like, oh, well, I can do graphics too. And then what you do is start accommodating outside of your, maybe even going like this, but like this. Think of your business and your startup or whatever you're doing as a train track. Allow people to show up to the station and hop on the train, because trains go on one track to one destination and they know where they're going. That's what you got to think of your business like. It's like, this train is not leaving the track, and when it leaves the track, it doesn't go anywhere, because when you start accommodating everybody's needs, you're going to get so lost in who you are, what your vision is, what you're doing, and what you're helping. There is a point of adapting, but it's through the process of seeing that what you're holding the structure to doesn't really fit the problem, or you identify like there's a bigger market that still holds the same structure. Because essentially what I've seen over the last 7 years is the more I focus on me and what I want and what I'm passionate about and what brings me energy and what I feel extremely creative doing, attracts other people in. But they didn't come in until I passed the test of doing it alone and having nobody by my side to do it with, because it was a hard test, but as soon as I really was like, I don't care if anybody wants to be a part of this. I love it. It brings me energy. I'm passionate about it. I feel creative and it brings me joy. Then the people started attracting in, but I had to find that inner belief in myself. And you probably will too, because there will be many tests on the journey of like, are you going to, go at the shiny object over here? Or are you going to stay where you're at and just set up camp and see what attracts in? Because the more authentic you are and the more true you are to yourself, the more attractive you're going to be. And the bigger the problem you're solving, the quicker or simpler your solutions are, the more people will attract in a lot quicker. And think about it too, it's a lot easier to just sit here and be like, here's what I'm doing, who wants to be a part of it? Rather than going out and being like, what are you guys doing? What are you, like, just attract. Don't chase. And if you find yourself chasing, stop, sit down, be okay with being alone for a while, and then you'll start attracting it in. Number 4 is schedule time off every 90 days. And if you think about it, the work here is built into quarters, which is every 90 days, right? 90, 180, what is that? 270, 360. Yeah, boom. So every 90 days is a quarter. Schedule in 1 week off every 90 days, because if you don't, what will happen is, number 1, you'll burn out. Number 2, you'll get tired and exhausted of what you're doing. Number 3, you'll start to resent your clients and your work. And number 4 is you won't have the energy, the drive, and the motivation, and that is the key to essentially what you're building. And then also what will also happen is like you'll just get in this grind of working, and humans are essentially really good at creating patterns and wanting them tighter, and you'll create more and more and more and more work, and it'll be harder and harder and harder to take time off, and then you'll finally take time off and you'll realize exactly how much you needed it. But by simply taking a week off every 90 days, it will give you time to take a break, to reset. And during that time, you'll be resistant to do it at the beginning. But essentially what will happen is the more time you give yourself off, the more that you'll start to feel recharged, you'll start to refresh, you'll start to feel like you did when you first started the business, but you're gonna have the skill set and the tool belt under you that essentially allows you to make bigger, faster, quicker moves, and those moves only come after you take time off. And I know if you're a seasoned entrepreneur or experienced and you've been in it and you haven't taken time off, just do it. It'll freaking change everything. It'll be like, this is what I've been needing, but it's the last thing I wanted to do. And I mean, even there's a bonus tip in here. It's like the last thing you want to do in business is probably the first thing you need to do in order to get to the next level. So if you don't want to take a day off, take a day off, you know. And I don't know any other ones there. Like, God, just take time off. I swear to God, it'll bring you more value than it will, and it won't hurt you. The last one is, if your purpose is bigger, you have to wait longer. And this is one of the coolest phenomenons I've seen in entrepreneurship. Is the biggest, most successful entrepreneurs didn't come out of the gates hot. They essentially took until about age 45 to get to their main piece of success. And I think this has been something stressful or hard for me, is with my work ethic, how much time and energy and how passionate I am about everything I do. I'm just like, what is wrong? And I'm seeing everybody around me, you know, become successful quicker and sooner. And I'm like, but I'm working harder. And then it's like, but then if you listen to the stories of a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, you'll hear how many times they failed, how much faster their peers were building around them, and how they essentially went to a bunch of different things, learned a ton of different skills. But in the moment that they started to be successful, they were able to navigate very complex and high-level situations because they had an abundance of skills under them. And typically, if you're a late bloomer, what you're doing is learning a bunch of different skills in a bunch of different pockets and regions, because at some point in your career, you're going to need to pull all those. And you got to think about it too, is if you're sampling a bunch of stuff like from photo, video, editing, graphic, website design, back-end, you know, coding, if you just take all the stuff in the creative field and you put it together, like, that is somebody who sits at the top of major agencies. That's somebody who builds these massive tech startups. Like, they have a little bit of information about everything that allows them to be the leader that essentially can fulfill the roles or find people to fulfill the roles. And if they can't find somebody, then they're the ones doing it. But it essentially gives you a really good eclectic tool belt that allows you to solve any problems. And if you're later in life of a bloomer, as you know, waiting to take off, or not waiting to take off, but has a later set destination, your purpose is going to be so big. And I mean, we're talking, like I said, the biggest and best entrepreneurs pretty much made their impact on the world or delivered their product around their 40s and 50s. And these were massive, massive legacies that are still around today. And this is like, you know, Ford, Steve Jobs with Apple, Microsoft. I mean, there's just like all these companies. Like I said, essentially, if you're a late bloomer, you got something big coming. Don't get resentful. Don't envy the people around you. Just allow yourself to have fun. Stay positive. Do what you can every day, but take time off. Know that it's not a sprint. It is a marathon. You have a lifetime to get to where you're going, but overall, it is an internal journey, not an external journey. And the more you do on the inside, you are going to see on the outside. And I think I just magically recapped the entire video right there, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you need to watch it again, drop a comment below of anything else you guys would like me to create. Man, it is time for me to be done with this one. Thank you guys, and have a good day.